Bits of breaking news already. If you haven't noticed, Mark McAdam is with Carve. Mark, nice to see you.
I'm just here to keep him cool.
He doesn't need to be kept cool. He is cool. All right, let's talk Manchester United. Bryan Mbeumo, we've been talking about him. What's the latest?
Yeah, it's going to be a huge summer, isn't it, for Manchester United? We know there's a lot of attention and pressure under Ruben Amorim as he looks to reshape this Manchester United squad under his DNA. And this man is without question going to be a big part of it. But Manchester United have got to get to the price that Brentford want. We know that their first offer has been rejected. That was £45 million plus £10 million in add-ons. Our information is that Brentford are looking for £60 million upward. This is a man that's almost guaranteed goals for Brentford. He's their top Premier League goal scorer, which is some achievement in itself, more than Ivan Toney, because everyone thinks about Brentford and goals and they think of Ivan Toney. This man has been a consistent presence throughout the last 5-6 years since he joined in 2019. He's formed really good partnerships. He cost Brentford just £4 million from Troyes. He was scouted, watched, looked at by Lee Dykes and Phil Giles, who have done an incredible job, and now they're looking to sell him for £60+ million. So first offer rejected. However,
this deal will be done pretty quickly. Also, there's a possibility that United may sign another forward as well. There have been lots of reports today that they may go in for Victor Gyökeres at Sporting. Now, he's somebody who, of course, has worked with Ruben Amorim. Amorim knows him well. I'm sure there are lines of communication that are open between him and Victor Gyökeres and his representatives. The big question is, would Victor Gyökeres be willing to move to Manchester United when they're not in Europe? He's going to have options of playing for Champions League clubs. He could even stay at Sporting and play in the Champions League as well. But I still think United have got a big pull. And what we're seeing this summer from Manchester United is they are not just going to take what's happened to them, coming out fighting. I think they will spend big in the transfer window this summer. Of course, they will have to balance their books because of PSR, but I think we're going to see some real statements of intent from Manchester United because they want to get back and challenge quickly.
Yeah, balance books. Hold on. It wasn't that long ago we were being told, oof, without Ratcliffe's money, we're going to go bust before Christmas. How can they afford this, Mark?
Well, quite simply because they're
Manchester United.
They're Manchester United. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world. They turn over a huge sum of money and they will try and trade and recycle cash. And that's what a lot of clubs are doing. How can we raise funds to spend money here? But we need to get some money in. Number of players I could chuck at you, Mike, that will be on the top of the list for Manchester United with regards to exits. Marcus Rashford. We know that the clause for Aston Villa to trigger was £40 million. So they'll be saying he's had a really good, solid second half of the campaign, played Champions League football. We know that there are suitors there. Wages may be a problem.
But that's complex, isn't it?
It's
not
complex.
Easy to get him out.
But if there is someone that can come to the table at Old Trafford and say, we want Marcus Rashford and we're willing to pay £30-40 million, that will be offsettable 100% with regards to PSR because he's a homegrown academy product. So therefore, those are the ones that tick boxes. The same with Alejandro Garnacho, the same with Jadon Sancho. We know that there are players there potentially that could raise upwards of £100 million.
Okay.
Obviously, United need someone to knock on the door and say, we want to buy these players, and right now that's where the problem lies.
I'm guessing Anthony is another one who could head out, and there's news that he might go back to a former manager.
Yeah, again, we talk in windows about the domino effect, and this is very much something that could be triggered by Florian Wirtz leaving Bayer Leverkusen, going to Liverpool, and we understand that the replacement for Wirtz at Leverkusen would be this man, Anthony. He cost Manchester United in 2022 £86 million. Huge investment. Safe to say it hasn't quite worked out yet at Old Trafford. But could he potentially link up with someone he knows very well? Erik ten Hag, the new Bayer Leverkusen boss. He's already signed him once for Ajax, signed him twice at Manchester United. Could he sign him a third time at Bayer Leverkusen? Now, this is one to keep an eye on because we know that potentially there could be some big investment there that Manchester United could recoup back. But the important thing to point out with regards to these kind of finances, and that's your initial question, is that it's not always cut and dry. Manchester United paid £86 million for him, but there will be wages, bonuses, agency fees on top of that. And ultimately, the profit they'll make, or the profit they'll have to play with regards to signing new players, is what's called the book price. Now, his book price will be not 86 because he's been there for some time, but it might not be as low as people think. So they may sell him for 50 million, just for argument's sake. Doesn't mean that they've got 50 million to spend. It depends on what his book price is. So, yeah, one to keep an eye on. Definite interest from Bayer Leverkusen.
OK, I want to talk Liverpool now. Luis Diaz, significant update today, Carve, tell us.
Yeah, Liverpool have rejected an approach from Barcelona for Luis Diaz. Now, it is a bit of a with Diaz because he's got 2 years left on his contract. And we know that Barcelona have a long-standing interest in him. And also there are clubs in Saudi Arabia who are interested in signing him, like Al Nassr. Now, he's got 2 years left on his contract at Liverpool. I think his expectation is that his representatives are going to have talks with Liverpool about extending that contract. I'm not sure if that is Liverpool's point of view as well. But if he's not going to extend his contract, then you would think that he would need to move on this summer. And there's lots of talk that Liverpool will be making even more big money signings. So is now the right time for him to be leaving? He's been talking because he's on international duty with Colombia. He was talking at a news conference and he basically admitted that, yes, he knows that talks are ongoing and his representatives are talking to other clubs. One of those other clubs, of course, is Barcelona.
So 2 years left on his contract, Mark. Do Liverpool have to avoid the situation that we've just had with Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold?
Absolutely. You have to remember that those three players that you've mentioned there, the hierarchy at Liverpool were very different to what they are now. It's obviously Richard Hughes is the sporting director, Michael Edwards is involved with FSG, so you've got different personnel at the top of the tree. But any time I have a conversation, and Carve's probably the same about contracts and players, they say the simple rule, you get down to 2 years, you either sign a new deal or we sell you. We don't get down to the final year because that's where the price drops. And of course, when you see someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold leaving for essentially a free, although they got £10 million in the end for him to play in the Club World Cup, that's the nightmare situation. So the noises that Luis Diaz has made with regards to exploring other opportunities and potential options makes sense based on that. But yeah, this is a nightmare situation for any football club. So this will be a big summer for him, either with an extension or Liverpool will say, we're going to recycle that cash and we're going to go use that money to bring someone else in.
Does his situation have any knock-on effect on the Florian Wirtz deal?
No, separate deal. Liverpool had essentially a brilliant summer last year because they spent little to no money, sold players, generated cash, and have a big chunk of that still burning a hole in their pocket. So they've been able to roll that cash forward to this summer, and that's where they can go big. Our information here at Sky Sports News is that Liverpool, and as we've seen already, are looking to really heavily invest in maybe 4 or 5 players over the course of this summer. We know that Frimpong's through the door. We know that they're in talks with Bayer Leverkusen at the moment. Whilst that second offer of £105 million or so hasn't been rejected, the conversation continues. So whatever happens with Luis Diaz, it's not going to affect Wirtz. But any football club, and Carve will tell you the same, the ones that operate in the right way, the ones that are smart, the ones that are astute and clever, they get players in first and then they get players out. Never sign a player unless you're ready to get someone out the door. Otherwise, you get stuck with players that you can't afford and you don't want, and then you end up sending them out on loan at the back end of the window and paying half their wages.
I think the thing about Wirtz as well is, obviously, some Liverpool fans will now be asking the question, what's going on? What's going on? Why is this taking so long?
Yeah.
There are all these reports on social media that it was a done deal and there were pictures of him in a Liverpool shirt. I think from Liverpool's perspective, everyone's just got to calm down. The important thing is the player himself has made it clear he only wants to sign for Liverpool. I know there's been some stories in the Spanish media saying possibly Real Madrid could come in for him and snatch him because Xabi Alonso wants to work with him again and take him to Real Madrid. I don't think anybody at Liverpool is worried about that. I don't think this deal is in jeopardy at all because the player has made it clear, I want to go to Liverpool. And Bayer Leverkusen would much rather sell him to Liverpool than sell him to Bayern Munich. And I think this deal will happen, but let's give Liverpool to make sure that the numbers are right because this is a massive deal, a massive deal. The kind of deal that we were told that Manchester City walked away from, because when you add up the size of the transfer fee and also the size of the wages over the length of the term of the contract, you were talking about an investment of around £200 million. And when you're investing that kind of money, you need to take your time and make sure everything is right before you sign on the dotted line.
Oh, you get a chief correspondent for that sort of money. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Arsenal, left-winger striker.
Pues es una ausencia importante, porque Noya es uno de los jugadores que siempre suele comenzar los partidos en esa escalera. Y vamos a ver hasta qué punto lo siente y lo nota el Barrio, que ha sido un equipo un poco de extremos durante los propios partidos, ¿no? Muchas veces ha empezado mal, luego ha mejorado en el segundo tiempo. Hoy el Barrio tiene que salir con mucha más concentración desde el primer instante, porque esto es un partido de playoff y delante tienen un equipo con mucha calidad, como es los Troncos.
Atento está para el cierre, Gil Vidal, segundo palo, Carlas al palo. Adri, ¡gol! ¡Gol del Barrio de Adri de Contreras! El penalti presi. Mira, y Adri Contreras haciendo de la suya. Se queda en el campo y dice... Ian disparó. ¡Oh! ¡Sácala a llegar! ¡Gol! Verdú, también Edgar Álvaro. Verdú la deja para Edgar. Rompe la barrera. ¡Oh! ¡Gol, gol, gol! ¡Gol! ¡Tenemos suerte! ¡Gol! Todo tuyo. Ahí está Marmartra, que lanza un bueno. Jugador estrella.
¿A quién ponemos?
¿Será doble jugador estrella?
Sí. ¿Qué quieres? ¿Penalti?
Pues
Vale,
quiere penalti, no quiere quitarle el jugador. ¡Gol! ¡De los Troncos! ¡No falla Verdú! ¡Viene el Che! ¡Manu Martín! Al lado de la pelota. A ver, aquí va. Va directo a la pelota. ¡Gol! ¡Perchita! ¡Gol! Para los Troncos. Se fue por la clásica, por la segura. Chita, Sorroche con el centro. La bajó muy bien Litus, pasa atrás. Edgar.
¡Oh!
Buen pro en el área. Paufer con el cuero al segundo palo. La tapó. Perdió la tina Che. Se va con toda Carraflana. Rebote para allí. ¡Gol! ¡Gol! ¡Del Barrio!
Ian González, habéis repetido la suerte de las chicas y estáis en semi. Enhorabuena.
Pues nada, muy contentos. Parece que ya empezamos a salir del pozo en el que nos metimos en Liga después de esas 4 derrotas seguidas. Y nada, a Madrid seguro.
Os enfrentáis, al igual que las chicas, a Ultimate Móstoles, guerra de clubes, parece.
Sí, esperamos a ver si podemos ganarles ya, que desde que salí de allí de Móstoles no le ganó ningún partido. Así que nada, DJ, voy a por ti.
O sea que celebración de gol si marcas, a lo loco, todo, ¿no?
Tanto no, pero ojalá le meta uno.
Bueno, enhorabuena, a disfrutarlo.
Muchas gracias.